Yeah. Well, it annoyed me because I wanted a compliment. All right. Uh, welcome to Comedically Correct. I am Andrew Holiday, and with me, as
And
always,
I'm
is. Oh,
Selena.
sorry. Uh, we always mess up the introductions, but who cares? So, quick apology. We did do a podcast relatively recently that we meant to release to you, but there were issues with it. So we're gonna recap it really fast, if you guys don't mind. We were talking about the very famous slap, the Oscar slap, when Chris Rock got slapped by um, Will Smith, which I'm sure everybody's tired of hearing about, but um, I don't know. What was your take on it again?
I mean, I'm anti-violence, but I also think it was just an ego trip pretty much that happened. Like it's just, you get your feelings hurt and then you slap somebody. That's not the adult way to do things, but it is very good entertainment.
Yeah, it was. It was probably the most interesting thing to happen at the Academy Awards in a long time.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Uh, so since then, Will Smith was kicked out of the Academy. He can still win Academy Awards. He can still be nominated. He just can't go. He can't vote anymore, and he can't go to events anymore. Which I don't know if like that's much of a punishment, but I guess it's more of like a symbolic punishment. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's also stupid because like a week after that happened, Louis C.K. won a Grammy for the best comedy album of the year.
yeah, I
So it's
listened.
never like it's not about violence. It's that people were embarrassed on a national stage. It's because you went into this room full of very rich, very privileged people and you made it a little too reality TV.
Yeah, it was. Well,
Because it's not about protecting entertainers, it's not about protecting people against violence
well, he
because
should
they
have
were
been.
even talking about taking away his Academy Award, right? But they don't take away Roman Polanski's.
Yeah, that actually I have a problem with the fact that like, I guess I understand. Like, you separate the art from the artist, and if they earned the Academy Award, I guess you don't like it's not like it goes to second place. It's the same thing as like the Heisman Trophy and stuff like that. But and
Right.
it's not like they cheated to get the award. So I guess I understand that. It's just what bothers me is that this is a different subject, but like how we treated, and I've discussed this on the podcast before. Years ago, like one of the first Academy Awards I watched was when The Pianist was nominated for Best
Hmm.
Picture, and Roman Polanski was either won or nominated for Best Director. And they were talking about him like coming to accept his award and how the police might get there. And I was like, oh wow, what about this rebel? Like the American government's trying to get him, and he's gonna. And like they were in the way that they were talking about him, like almost made him sound like this like rebel without a cause type thing. Like, and then I found out, oh no, he drugged and SA'd a 13-year-old girl, confessed to it, and then before he was sentenced, he left the country.
Right.
So yeah, the same thing with like Victor Salva. Like, I do think that people deserve second chances, and that people should be allowed to reintegrate in society. But like Roman Polanski
But a lot of
specific,
these people are like they're non-apologetic about it. They don't think that what they did was wrong, or if even if they think that what they did was wrong, they think because of their position in society that they shouldn't have to deal with any consequences. And that's the problem.
yeah.
You can earn your way back into society's good graces, but you have to not be a shit about it. Like,
Well, I actually agree with that. Like, I do think that we should like allow an avenue back. I can't when it like there's like people like Louis C.K. I don't think Louis C.K. is nearly as egregious as like Harvey Weinstein, Kevin
right.
Spacey. Not even close. Like that, I wouldn't even mention them in the same tier because like you're talking about like people that went after kids or actual uh monsters versus um I don't even know how to describe like
Well,
Louis
to me,
C.
it'd be like, okay, if you're making a metaphor, which I don't think I necessarily agree with this. I think something, if it's wrong, then it's wrong, and it doesn't matter on what scale you do it. But it's like stealing, right?
Sure.
So if you work at a Walmart and you steal chapstick and lotion and toothpaste and stuff, that's different than working at a Walmart and stealing all of the TVs.
All right. Yeah.
So like Louis C.K. was stealing
Chapstick.
chapstick and lotion, and Harvey Weinstein was stealing televisions and couches and shit. They're both equally wrong,
No, I would.
but one just seems worse. But it's still the same crime.
No, I disagree. I disagree with equally wrong. Like if you hurt kids or like what Harvey Weinstein was doing was like using his position to actually like basically bully and manipulate women into uh and he actually did there were actual accusations of Rose McGowan of rape, sexual assault, quick pro quos,
Mm-hmm.
and he was in essentially holding an entire industry hostage where Louis C.K., although I'm not trying to defend him, like this is going to come off as like I'm defending him, was with adult women who consented to his sexual act.
But why
Um,
did they consent though?
that's a that's a good question. One of the
That's
girl,
the question. Like that's the whole point of it. They weren't consenting because they were like into it. Most of them, like they didn't want it to happen. They consented because they thought, oh, if I do this, this man who's very well respected and very well accomplished in this field that I'm trying to get into, maybe he will help me.
I don't know if that was their necessarily motivation. Like I think that like you're more because if you're doing
Or at
it,
least like if he does it,
yeah,
like I can't tell him no, he can't do this because then I'm not cool and I can't hang out. Because that's what I mean,
yeah,
unfortunately, that's
like
how it all works in comedy is like if you're not like a cool person to hang out with, or if you're not like
yeah, like you
fine
kind of
with
have to
just like a
network
little bit
to
of weird harassment.
well, yeah, yeah, you do kind of have to network and you kind of have to
I mean,
um
especially as a woman, because they're just gonna label you hard to work with. And really all that means is like you weren't cool with people making passes at you.
it's like yeah, she freaks out about everything. Like yeah, no, like I get that. One of the things that a lot of the guy that I actually think that held me back a little bit with comedy was a lot of the comics uh did well like did recreational drugs on the side, and I never did that, and I
Hmm.
and I feel like that hurt a lot of my networking opportunities. So like yeah, like sometimes it
Yeah,
sucks in
because
the industry. Like
I've
you
heard
kind of have to
I've
play.
heard too from people that don't drink, they feel like they don't get the same opportunities as people who do drink because they don't like hang out at the bar after.
Yeah, like hanging out at the bar after 100%. Like I can't tell you how many like just gigs that I've gotten just by being friends with people and
Yeah.
knowing the right people. And that comes from like getting drinks with people, being friendly, being easy to be around. And so there's like a little bit of it that I agree with. Like if you're hard to work with, and I'm not saying that like women that don't want to have sex with everybody might are hard
Well,
to
no,
work
but
with. That's
like,
not what I'm
yeah,
trying to say. But like if you're legitimately hard to work with, even if you are funny, like you have to overcome that. You have to be freaking hysterical to make
yeah.
it past.
Like if you're somebody that's always late or somebody that's always like canceling at the last minute, that's being hard to work with.
Oh yeah. Or like I don't know, like people that throw temper tantrums about their placement in the order. Uh there was
They want special treatment.
yeah, like they think that like they paid their dues more than you have or whatever. Also, by the way, I don't think that like being put up first is an insult, but some comedians take it as an insult. Like
No,
first
I
off,
kind of almost prefer it sometimes because then I can be done.
yeah, first off, somebody has to go first.
Yeah.
Second, like I don't think that I would ever book a comedian that I knew was bad. Somebody has to
Right.
go first. And also like you're setting the stage. Like if the first person really sucks, it makes it hard for the rest of the show. I
Yeah.
If there was somebody that I knew was bad, I would 100% not put him first. I might hide them second or third even, but I would 100. But like I don't know, like I've had people like complain about having to go first because they thought that that was like an insult, which I thought was dumb. If anybody books me and asks me to go first, I have never had a problem with it. Like if you're giving me
I don't
time,
usually like I don't always necessarily want to go last just because, but that's not because like I feel a certain way about who goes first or who goes last. I don't like to go last because that means I'm waiting the whole time and I'm anxious the whole time.
I get that. I understand that.
And it's like I'd
I
rather just kind of go either in the beginning or like in the middle.
Yeah,
That way I can enjoy the rest of the show. Because if I'm sitting there anxious waiting for my turn, I'm not going to focus on the show.
yeah. I should have wore a different shirt. My shirt is blending into my background really bad, and I just realized that. I'm sorry, guys. I'm wearing a flat Earth shirt, by the way.
Unprofessional.
Yeah, because I'm cool like that. Uh, so I think that we got the Oscar slap thing out of the way. I think 10 years is fine. Like he physically assaulted somebody on stage. I don't. I mean, like that. Um, Maybe we can talk about like Louis C.K. winning album of the year later on, or best comedy out Grammy for best comedy album. I actually listened to that album recently. Um, that's something that I think would be interesting to talk to you about. But the other thing that we had, transgender in sports. This is a long conversation that we had a
Mhm.
very good in-depth conversation about, and I would rather save that for another time.
Okay. I mean, I'm
Because
sure it'll come up again.
yeah, I'm like for sure it's going to come up again.
And we can
Uh,
talk about all the bills that are being passed.
yeah. Uh, yeah, that's a lot of dumb stuff. I don't, man, I don't get Florida. Like Florida State is like literally one of the smartest people I know was born and bred in Florida, and also one of the dumbest people I know. Like I think shot himself in Florida. Still alive, by the way.
Like on purpose or like on accident?
On accident.
Oh,
This is an uncle of mine. Well, not like I guess like a second cousin of mine, but yeah. He went to live in Florida because like he was like tired of like the liberalness, and like the first week there, he was like unloading his guns and he shot himself. So it was funny, but supposedly it's not the first time he shot himself. He just doesn't advertise it. 'Cause, um, yeah, that's why I don't own a gun. I probably would totally shoot myself, like by
on
accident,
accident.
not on
Yeah.
purpose. Okay, so
I mean, that is like an honest statistic is like you're more likely to be shot by the gun that's in your home
yeah,
than any other gun.
like by you, one of your family members, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, there was this thing that I was looking up. There was a guy that shot his son. It's really sad. Well, it was really sad. So his son snuck out, and then his son was sneaking in, and he thought his son was an intruder, and he shot his son, and didn't know that it was
You're
his
talking
son.
about in Greenwood?
Was it in Greenwood?
There was a case like that. I don't know if it's the specific one you're talking about that, but I remember it was either I think I was in college when that happened.
Yeah, like it was his like
It wasn't
high.
when I was living there, but I remember I don't know that he snuck out or anything. I just know that he was coming back inside and his father shot him because he thought he was an intruder.
I remember listening to the 911 call. Um, it may have been back. It was quite a while ago. So what happened was it was a high school age boy. He snuck out to like go party and goof off with his friends and stuff like that. Kids do that.
Mhm.
And he was sneaking back in through a window. His father saw him, shot him with a shotgun. Kid was like almost dead instantly.
Yeah.
And then so he called 911. He's like, intruder at my house, come pick up the body. I took care of it for you guys. Like almost like bragging
Hmm.
that he just killed this guy. Police get there, paramedics get there, and they're like, hey, this is your son. And yeah, it was like this horrible thing.
And he didn't even look.
Yeah, and I've actually been looking
And
for
if
it
he
on.
snuck out, did he not look for his son in the house to be like, hey, you didn't wake up when I just shot that guy?
I don't know. Like maybe.
Uh-oh. Hi. It's okay.
Is that your comedian friend?
Yeah.
So Selena is housing comedians.
Yes, I am a homeless shelter exclusively for 38-year-old comedians.
Hmm. Yeah,
Women, not men, no men,
I
just
I
women.
I get that. I mean like that's the only people that I would shelter to. But that's just because I'm a creep. Anyway,
We're working on the adoption paperwork.
I'm very happy for you guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So anyway, um before we get into our top 10 comedy albums of all time, um I do want to talk about apparently uh we picked the wrong industry to go into. So I was reading an article, I think I sent it to you. A Hooter waitress makes over 300 bucks per shift, every shift. And like those are like average shifts. Like she's not talking about like game nights and like big fights and stuff like that or Saturday nights. Like just an
Yeah, the
average
video
shift.
you sent me was just like a random Thursday.
Yeah, just random Thursday. She made like over 300 bucks. Had a one tip that was like 100 bucks just by itself, Venmo.
Hmm. Which means that she didn't have to put it like it's not on her taxes.
Well, yeah, actually, I know a lot of waiters and waitresses that don't put like half of their tips on taxes. I
Yeah, but if
when,
it was Venmo, then it's not like they can't track it back to her work at all. Then it just
oh
looks
yeah,
like a gift.
yeah, and then like any cash that you get, like all you have to do is just make sure that you put enough to where your boss doesn't like worry about it, and then everything else is non-taxing. Like you just
Yeah.
keep that cash. Uh, yeah, I know a bunch of waiters. In fact, actually, my ex-girlfriend was a bartender at Hooters, and she made over 1,000, well, just under $1,000 in one shift as a bartender.
Hmm.
And I was like, I I picked the wrong industry. Like I shouldn't
I
like,
mean, I think we picked the right industry for ourselves.
yeah,
Um, I am very vain and I am very complimentary to myself, but I'm not that good looking to make $300 in a
I,
day.
I don't know. Like if there was like a woman's Hooters like here, I would 100% work there.
Like a
Like
Chippendales or something, but
yeah, like
a
a
restaurant.
well, there's a place in Dallas called Tallywhackers.
Oh,
Yeah, and I would like maybe when I was younger, I would definitely have worked there. If like that was like, yeah,
that's good money.
yeah, no, like I'm not knocking it. So coincidentally, that specific Hooter girl, Leah Fennerly,
Hmm.
was actually one of my followers on one of the accounts that I manage. So I messaged her, and she's busy today. Otherwise, she was going to give us an impromptu interview, but she did answer a few questions. So there was a Hall of Fame pitcher. She won't tell me the Hall of Fame pitcher, but my guess is Goose Gossage. Hall of Fame pitcher, she had that only tipped her $7, which was 20%. So she's not complaining about that tip. My theory is it was Goose Gossage, by the way.
Okay. I don't know any. I mean, it wasn't Babe Ruth. I know that, but that's the only pitcher that I know. And I don't even know if he was a pitcher. I think he was just a baseball player.
You was a
That's
pitcher.
how much I know about sports. Okay. Well, then I was right.
Um, Babe Ruth was actually famously a very good pitcher, and he was also a really good hitter when he played for the Red Sox. She doesn't care about this, but I'm going to tell the audience. Like I can just see her zoning out. So Babe Ruth was a really good pitcher for the Red Sox, but he was also a really good hitter. And then because the owner of the Red Sox, I can't remember his name, wanted to finance a play, essentially sold Babe Ruth's contract to the New York Yankees so he could finance a play that he wanted to do. And it caused the curse of the Bambino. And the Red Sox, it took them over 100 years to win another World Series once they sold Babe Ruth to the Yankees. And
Wow.
yeah, the Yankees went on to win a ton of World Series. They've like I think 28 World Series now, which is like close to a quarter of all the World Series. Fuck F the Yankees. And yeah, but he stopped pitching when he went to the Yankees. He no longer was a pitcher. But
Because
there
he
is
didn't
show
want to, or because they had a different.
because they just wanted to keep him like pitchers only pitch once every fifth day, so he's only going to be in the lineup every fifth day.
Mhm. And they wanted
So
to use him more as a hitter.
yeah, so he was more valuable as a hitter than he was a pitcher. Like he had a 3.2 or 3.13 ERA or something like that, which is really good, especially for that time. ERA, but he was more valuable as a pitcher. But right now, there's Shohei Ohtani for the um, LA Angels,
Yeah. I
who
think we
is,
talked about him last time too.
yeah, he's a pitcher and a designated hitter because he hits so good. He actually won the MVP last year. Freaking awesome. Um, she has certain regulars that give her $100 tips all the time.
Mhm.
This girl, which kind of makes me sad. Like,
Why?
I don't know, like the guy that, like I feel like the guys that go in there, like I feel sad for them. Like, so I have a lot of girl friends that were formerly Hooters and Twin Peaks girls, or currently still are, and so they would tell me about some of these guys. Like there was one guy, he was nicknamed Mountain Dew guy, and like he just was a lonely guy, and like
Mm.
most of his paycheck, like he would like constantly be giving these girls like most of his paycheck just because like he was lonely. He didn't have a wife, he didn't have any kids, and like he wasn't even rich, and he was giving them like most of his paycheck, and they were always nice to him and stuff like that. But like I just felt like it was just like his loneliness, and like that's like all he could do to. And so like sometimes like that's
Well,
why I
yeah,
think,
but if that makes him happy, like if it feels good to him to give those girls money, why is that bad? Like, why should you feel? I mean, I spend a lot of my money on food. Don't feel bad for me. Like,
well, you're so here's the thing is like you get something out of that, but what
well,
is
yeah, but I also have pulled my cord. Um, I also do have like a very unhealthy relationship with food, so I buy a lot of it because I have an emotional issue that I'm trying not to deal with. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to think about that. What I do want though is a bag of hot Cheetos. That would be nice.
it's like I don't want to think about like the the universe dying in like 10 billion years. I'm just gonna eat a piece of chocolate instead.
Yeah,
I get you.
and then
Like,
I feel better.
nah, like I completely 100% understand that. And no, but like I agree, like there's like a level of not healthiness to it. Um, there was this guy, so a girl that I dated, Tanya, she worked at Hooters and then she worked at Rick's Cabaret. She was a waitress there. And she was saying that there was this guy that came in 4 days a week. Like there's like the last 4 days of the week. And he would come in and essentially stay till 2, drink beers and hang out with people and just throw money around. And that was his life. Like he would like it was like clockwork every week for like last 4 days of the week. He would come in. I was like, that guy like doesn't have any like family or anything. Like he
I mean,
doesn't
that
have
doesn't sound bad to me.
you. Okay, so you're spending more than half the week at a strip club for
I mean,
six
I
to
think
eight
it like
hours.
I don't know how much you don't obviously, but how much time do people spend at their jobs that they actively hate? How is doing that like if he likes being at the strip club, if being at the strip club makes him feel good, why should I shame him for that or feel bad for
I'm not
him if
I'm not shame. Oh, maybe I'm shaming him a little, but
I don't know. I mean, I would rather be at a strip club than be at work. People spend their whole lives working. People spend every like waking moment of their life working in like an office job or something that they hate. I don't know. I feel bad. I feel worse for people like that than I do for people that just like spend all their time on and money on something that maybe I don't personally enjoy.
I don't know. Like I think that like I agree that there's people that like live at their job, and I think that's unhealthy too. But you can have healthy relationships with your coworkers. You can't have healthy relationships with like strippers that you're paying per song.
Yeah, you can because then you know the terms of the relationship. I would argue that that's even a healthier relationship than the relationships you might have with your coworkers because most people that I know, um, especially if they work like a straight like day job or something, they have to censor a portion of themselves or
Oh
you know,
yeah,
because there's you can't just talk about anything in an office. There are some things that are off limits that are inappropriate that you can get in trouble for.
yeah,
Whereas
typically.
at a strip club, you just can't talk about injuring the girls, but you should never talk about injuring somebody while you're talking to them.
Yeah,
That's
like
just that's unacceptable across the board
I
of social relationships.
I okay, so depending on the strip club, there are very strict rules to not very strict rules. Um, Strip clubs in your local area don't seem to have extremely strict rules, from what I've noticed. Actually, I've never been to a strip club in Lubbock, but a lot of the West Texas strip clubs, they're the Wild West.
I've
There's
only ever been to one strip club and I didn't like it very much.
which one?
I can't remember what it's called, but it was in San Angelo.
Was it was it Desiree's?
Excuse me. I don't know, maybe. It was a long time ago. I
I
didn't like
bet
it very much, but it's
I
because there were a lot of men in there and I don't like that.
I don't like men either. No, okay. I think I know which strip club you went to. That place was disgusting.
Probably. I wasn't
Yeah.
there very long.
So one
I
night
just
after
remember thinking like, how do these girls not fart when they're clapping their ass?
um that's I've never thought about that before.
I think about that all the time. I'm like, how are you not farting?
So I went there one time when it was after a show at Backbeat, and some of the other and so everybody was some of the comedians that lived there were making fun of that place Desiree's on how
Hmm.
nasty it was, and it's literally right across the street from a daycare. There's like a daycare like right across the street from it, so that's like weird. Like
Hmm.
it's like a weird grandfathered in from zoning because
Yeah.
like everywhere else in the world, like you can't strip clubs can't be that close to places like that. But for some reason it's grandfathered in and it's weird. But so we went there and they were selling like pulled pork burritos
Hmm.
inside the strip club. And I was really hungry, so I bought one. So me and this other guy bought one. Fucking grossest thing in the world. Like I was just my stomach hurt like the rest of the time in there. And then yeah, no, it was a bad experience. But yeah, no, like I think that there's guys out there that and like I think that there's like I think that there are this is gonna sound messed up. I think that there are certain girls that prey on certain guys that don't have anything going for them. Um, like it's like a gold digger, except for they're not like marrying them. Like they're just sucking everything that they can out of them without committing anything. Like they're just
It's not like
taking.
they're holding a gun to the guy's head saying like, look
Yeah,
at my
no,
tits and give me money or I'll shoot you. That's not how that works. They're willingly giving up their money
no, I
just
agree.
because
Like,
you're using a specific skill that you like. Okay. So then what's the difference? We're performers, right?
sure.
What I'm doing is exposing my emotional breasts to people
Yeah, we're a lot.
and
We're
sometimes
like
getting paid for that. Why is that different? Like,
you're an emotional
is that
stripper.
me taking advantage of people? A little bit, yeah, but it's
Yeah.
not hurting anyone.
Sure. I think it is, and I don't.
You think it is hurting someone?
No, no, no. Okay, it is taking advantage, but it's not taking advantage in a bad way. And no, I don't think that strippers are taking advantage of people in a bad way. Like they're doing a job, they're not doing anything wrong, right? Like strippers,
Right.
hooters, waitresses, stuff like that. But every now and then, I think, because I've seen it before, where they will notice like certain people, not all of them, but certain people will notice like a weak member of the herd, single that member of the herd out, suck them for everything that they have, and leave them. They'll be like, you should get me this diamond ring. I love you. Or like they'll say whatever they need to do, like just to get whatever they can out of them because like these people, they don't have anything else for their lives. So they think so anybody that shows them anything,
Well, yeah, but that I don't think that's like a
it's not illegal
I
and
don't
they're
think that's
adults. I'll give
well, and
you.
I don't think that's an issue that's exclusively
I don't think it's exclusively men to
about
women. Yeah.
like no, it's not about women and it's not about strippers. I mean, because did you watch Tinder Swindler?
No, but I heard the story. I know the story.
It's essentially that where you're just, I mean, that's just being a scammer. That's not necessarily, I wouldn't link that directly to being a stripper at all.
I don't.
There are
Well, I'm
scammers
not.
in every industry.
Yeah, I'm not linking it directly to being strippers. I just think that those guys are. I think that
You
that's
feel bad for them.
no, like yeah. Sometimes like I think that like that's what's happening. I think that there are lonely people out there. Like it doesn't have to be men or women that are easily manipulated when like the one thing that they want and they can't get is offered to them, but like kind of barely.
Hmm.
So then they do everything to get it and stuff like that. And I think that people like that exist. And I don't think that it's a specifically female trait. No, of that's not what I'm saying. And I don't think it's a stripper trait either. It's just something that I notice is what I think happens sometimes a lot. It's
Yeah,
something
I
I
mean,
think
people are
happens quite
always
a lot.
taking advantage of other people. That's what do you think a salesperson is?
Oh, I did sales for years.
Yeah, so you
And
know how evil and disgusting you are.
I I I never did any of the shitty sales tricks. I never did high pressure sales because those products sold themselves. Yeah. Okay. So we are going to go into a little bit of more fun topic. We're going to do top 10 comedy albums of all time. So I realized doing this that top 10 comedy albums of all time is really hard to say from me because you would have to I don't know, like there's too much that goes into it. So I'm going to say the top 10 comedy albums for me personally that's not necessarily the top 10 comedy albums ever. So if you have
Yeah, that's what that's the list that I made was my
yeah.
top 10.
Yeah, so they're my top 10 too. So obviously if anybody has any other opinions, feel free to let us know. Um, so I'm going to go, I'll start. And I think I'm gonna get a lot of crap for this one. Retaliation by Dane Cook.
Okay. Interesting interesting choice.
So when I was in junior high, this was like one of the very first comedy albums that I watched completely end to end. And it was it made me want to become a comedian. I did impressions of this all the time in school, like for my friends, like the vomiting dragon and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, Dane Cook gets a lot of shit, but he's one of the reasons that inspired me to become a comedian. So I'm putting it in my top 10. You go.
Okay. I mean,
I I don't
that's
like
unfortunate, but I understand. Like it's a nostalgia. It's like I still will listen to old George Lopez. Does that mean I mean he did influence me to go into stand-up comedy, but does that mean I think he's one of the greatest comedians? Maybe not necessarily.
yeah, no, I
There's
wouldn't
something to be said for longevity and the impact that he's had just in general.
yeah. So yeah, no, like I would
And I
put
did think about putting him in my top 10, but I couldn't pick an album, so
Yeah, that's like one of those things where like sometimes like maybe like that's like another thing is like I think George Carlin's probably a top 10 comedian. I couldn't think of any one of his albums that
Right.
like I know a bunch of his albums. Like I couldn't think of any of them that I would put in the top 10, my personal top 10.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do
So,
one. Cat Williams, it's pimping, pimping. Although it's pimpin', pimpin', I think,
yeah.
We'll cut out the first part so it doesn't sound so horrifically white.
It's
But that's
pimpin'
one of my
pimpin'.
favorites. Pimpin', pimpin'. Because I
So
started like that was one of the first, I think, full specials that I listened to, maybe. Like my brother used to always listen to Cat Williams and Dave Chappelle, and that's one that I like remember. Like I can remember all the bits too.
yeah, Cat Williams' Pimpin' Pimpin' I think is one of the best comedy albums of all time.
Yeah,
Like,
because it's just like it's just wild. It's just like I think if you went to that show live when it was happening, your stomach the next day would be sore from laughing the whole time. Because it's just like banger after banger after banger.
yeah, no, every that that specific special, I actually had to pause so I could catch my breath and keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously, like when I was like having like when I was in rejection, I probably couldn't have like safely watched that special. Um, so um that one lines up. So Selena and I agree on one thing, finally, is that's actually number 7 on my list.
Okay. I didn't put mine like by number. I just put them in a random order as I remembered them.
Yeah, mine are in a random order too. Like they're not a specific thing either. So yeah. So we both have it's pimpin' pimpin'. I'm gonna go Thinky Pain by Mark Maron.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I
Um
support that choice.
yeah. If you guys watch, I think it's still on Netflix. Thinky Pain, that's the type of comedian I want to become, is one of those social detectives. Because right now I'm just mostly one-liner, dirty jokes, and what I want to evolve into is a social detective type comedian where like, hey buddy, it's not a big deal. Whatever it is. Sure it is. Um, but like a social detective, like people that get to the core of like why we think things or why we do
Yeah.
things. And
When I
there's
think too, like
yeah,
for Mark specifically, that's like a very that's like a turning point in his evolution as a comedian, is that specific special. Because if you listen to his work previous to that, the style is similar and his delivery is similar. Like you can tell it's the same guy, but like when through the journey of his podcast, he's changed a lot.
yeah,
And
uh,
I think that's where that comes from, is that like being that kind of social detective that comes from him doing that podcast.
yeah. So that's yeah, that made me want to be a better comedian just watching that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. Your turn.
Let me see. I have to unlock my phone. Cristela Alonso, upper classy or lower classy is what it's called actually.
Cristela Alonso. I've never
Mhm.
even see this is making me
Cristela
look.
used to have a TV show.
Did she?
Uh-huh. It was called Cristela.
Hmm.
And she was the first like I think that was the first show with a Latina as like the lead character. Was her show. But I like that special because she does this thing at the end that I think is one of the most powerful things you can do as a comedian. And have you watched that movie yet? Everything Everywhere All at Once.
No, not yet. I want to see it.
It's very good. So she does this thing at the end, kind of towards the end of the special, where she talks about how how much her mom means to her, and her mom got sick and she got really scared, and she like got to tell her mom everything she ever wanted to tell her, like, how much she meant to her and how much she loved her, and how proud she was. And then like just when you're about to start crying, she makes you laugh. Like it's a different kind of buildup of tension. Like when you're waiting, whenever somebody's doing the setup to a joke, right? And you're waiting and waiting for it to happen, they're building up a little bit of tension. But this one is so specific in that it's like the opposite. You're like getting ready to cry because you're like, oh my God, her mom's gonna die, and I don't know like
Yeah.
what that might be like. And then she makes a joke about it. And it just like it relieves that tension and it makes you, I don't know, it just makes you feel better.
Yeah. Well, no, and yeah, like in comedians that are able to find like that line between like tragedy and comedy,
Yeah.
and like, yeah, that's all something like special.
Especially when it's something that deeply personal.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to make a joke about a tragedy that didn't necessarily happen to you.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm still trying to write jokes about not necessarily jokes about my dad's death, but I'm still trying to write jokes that deal with like my relationship with my father and like trying to cope with his death and stuff. Like I'm still trying to write jokes about it, but it's still really, really hard because it is so sensitive to me.
Yeah. You had a joke about, I think your cousin or your brother dying.
My cousin.
Yeah, your cousin dying. Yeah, that was like sad and like really funny too. Like it was like it almost seemed like irreverent, but like also like sentimental at the same time. I thought it was like I thought it was really
Oh,
good.
thank you.
It was
I
actually
only
like
did that one. I only did that one a couple times. I haven't done it really since he passed.
uh that was the first time I seen you.
That was
I
a
th
long time ago. It
yeah,
was maybe 3 years ago, 3.5.
yeah, it was probably that long ago. Yeah. Yeah, like that was yeah, that was like the first time I seen you. But yeah, at least one of the first times I seen you, if not the
Yeah.
first. So yeah, that was pretty
I
good.
mostly do jokes about um, clitorises and stuff these days. I've gone back. I've gone back in my development.
Well,
I just keep getting dirtier and dirtier.
I tried to have a I was trying to work on a joke about my grandfather's funeral, which is actually based on a true story of me going to the wrong funeral.
Hmm.
Um, and it was just a bunch of Mexicans, so like I didn't know that I was at the wrong funeral for a good little
Hmm.
while. Um, so and yeah, that's a joke that I've been trying to make work for a long time, and I think there's something there, but like that's something. But yeah, like that's actually a true story. I was at a, I was like the only white guy at this like Mexican funeral, and I was like, where the fuck's
Or
my
like,
dad? Yeah, and like I was like annoyed too. Like I was like, I don't even know why these people are crying. I'm pretty sure they've never even met my grandpa. Like, like annoyed, and then I was like, oh wait, that's not my grandpa. I should
was it
leave.
when you went up to the casket to say goodbye? You're like,
I was
oops, wrong
very,
guy.
I was in the line. I was very close. In the joke, I go to the casket because I think it's funnier that way.
Hmm.
But the true story is I was actually in line and I was almost at the point where I was like meeting the people there and I was like, who are these guys? Because like I knew my grandpa had a sister that I never met. So I was thinking like maybe
So what
that's
did you just left the line?
yeah, I had no business being there.
I don't know. To me, it's like, well, at that point, I think I would have just committed because then I think it looks worse if you're in the line and then you leave because then it's like, ah, no, fuck this guy. I don't care. Actually, never really liked him.
Well, like the way the joke goes is like, so I realized it's not my grandpa, and my first instinct was to leave, but I mean, like I already waited in line, so I'm just gonna go see this dead body. Um,
Right? You're like, yeah, I mean, I did have to take a shit, but I was 2 steps away from getting on the Batman ride. So I just,
it's
I
like,
held it.
yeah, no, it's right there. So like the joke ends
That's
differently,
funny.
but yeah, that's a true story. But yeah, on the still on the topic of comedies that are also slight tragedies. Did you watch Annihilation with Patton Oswalt?
Hmm.
That one where he talks about his wife dying
Hmm.
and having to tell his daughter, and he like you can hear a pin drop. Like he
Yeah.
brings that audience down to a super low and then brings it back. That's that was pretty
Yeah.
amazing. And
Yeah. When I hear people do that, I'm like, that's like the true artistry of what
comedy.
we do,
Yeah.
what we could hope to do, you know?
Yeah, no, like if I was being honest, my favorite Patton Oswalt album is Talking for Clapping, but Annihilation was I think something special, so I put that one on there instead.
Okay. That's a good choice. Because it's
Yeah.
also too like I think one of my favorite things about watching one specific comedian, I feel like I keep saying specific.
I say
Watching
Pacific a
one
lot just to annoy
particular,
people. Yeah.
oh yeah. Watching one particular comedian like over the years is like kind of watching how they change and like watching them at different points in their lives and kind of seeing like
Hmm.
how that's affected their comedy. That to me is always really interesting. Um, so then I also have Margaret Cho Dependent.
I haven't seen that one. I've seen Margaret Cho though.
I think is it called Cho Dependent or Cho Independent? My phone corrects things for me sometimes.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
Like my phone corrects me only when I'm wrong on purpose. If I'm wrong about on accident, like when I write taking a pool and it put POOL instead of POLL, my phone's like, you're right, it's fine.
Yeah,
But
it's called Cho Dependent.
I,
I had to double check.
like
Um,
I like Miss Cho. She actually has a really great interview with I believe I believe it's why can't I remember his name right now? Conan O'Brien. She has a great interview with Conan O'Brien where she's talking about, and it's like his longer one of his longer interviews where she talks about like how Jerry Seinfeld like is the reason that she got like was able to get into comedy was like Jerry Seinfeld like
oh.
told her to he's like, hey, if you're serious about this, this needs to be the one thing in your life
Hmm.
for a while. He's like we're like doctors. He's like we're like doctors. Like you're going to school for this. It's like you gotta put yourself through the ringer. He's like you're
I
not.
mean, I'm sure he thinks that he is as I'm sure that he thinks that his role in society is as equal to a doctor, and I'm sure that he thinks that what he's doing is important. But I just
Like
don't like that comparison because it's like we're not fucking doctors. We're
laughter's the
clowns
best
who,
medicine.
yeah, sure, but that's not,
I don't
I
think
don't
that
know.
we're as important as doctors.
No, I think I just
I
don't like Jerry Seinfeld.
I I'm a fan of Jerry Seinfeld, but yeah, like you know uh but
I do think if you're gonna do it though, you do have to kind like it does have to be the most important thing to you.
well yeah no like because she was like saying like she was like going to college or whatever, and he's like well you know you need to make a decision like are you going to be a college student that wants to do this because he's like comedy can't be on the side, comedy's got to be like the whole thing, and you know you just got to see if you can do it or not.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what I wanted to do. Like that was my whole plan was like to like save up money for a year in Colorado and go to New York and just see what I could do.
Hmm.
And then COVID-19. But yeah, Margaret Cho. Okay. We'll keep it with the double X chromosomes and Wanda Sykes sick and tired. Freaking hysterical.
Very funny.
So, um
Is that
one
the one she talks about? Because I know she's married to like a French lady, and she's like, I had these two little white kids. Is it
that
before
was
that one?
that one was before she came out as gay. I think
Oh,
that one was she was before she came out as gay, but she was talking about I think it is. Yes, I think I'm right. Anyway, yeah, no. So it was before she came out and she was like talking about like she has a great bit about like a detachable vagina. And she's like,
Mhm.
wouldn't it be great, ladies, if we just had a detachable vagina so we could be like, hey, sorry, guy. Like, at the club, someone's like
Mhm.
hitting on you and you're like, I'm not interested. And you're like, nah, man. And it's like, I didn't even bring it tonight.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, boo. Like, and then she's like, but like, she's like, one night you go out, she's like, you go out with your ladies and your husband's like, you taking your vagina with you? It's like, well, if you don't need it, then just leave it at home. And then,
I think I
and then,
remember that one. Yeah.
and then she's like, and then you get home and you're like, damn it, I'm gonna have to put this through 2 spin cycles. Like this is ridiculous. Like it's like the most like freaking ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. That joke just stuck with me for years, and it like I don't know. Mastery of the art. Like it was dumb, silly, but like also like a social commentary at the same time. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, sick and tired. Wanda Sykes, your turn.
So I'll go Taylor Tomlinson, Quarter Life Crisis. I
Just
think
watch that.
probably one of the best specials I've ever seen as far as like her timing and her rhythm and the pacing and like the order of the jokes.
Oh yeah.
But the first time I saw her in the at the she's either in the stand-ups or one of the other like kind of shorter stand-up clips that Netflix has. She does this joke where which reminded me of when you were talking about that Wanda Sykes joke, it reminded me of that joke where she's like, I want to leave the house, but dang it, I got all these holes.
That's on Netflix, by the way. I also recommend that one.
Yeah. I saw her live in November. Mm, whenever the last time she was in Austin, I saw her. She's very good. And she did a joke, or she kind of wrote this joke because she in her newest special she talks a lot about mental health. She talks a lot about mental health just in general in her comedy, but she's talking about I think she was talking about suicide or something, and then she's like the worst thing about calling a suicide hotline. She was talking about what the worst things were. I'm not very expressive today. I didn't finish my coffee. Um, she's talking about the worst things about calling a suicide hotline, and somebody in the back of the crowd in the room I was in said the wait time, and she goes, "Oh yeah, the wait time." And then could you imagine if it was like Delta, like you could get points for being a frequent caller? So you could see her like she kind of wrote the joke on stage and was kind of like going through the motions of it. And like I started laughing because I could see where she was going, and she's like, "Okay, I think I need to tell the joke for you guys to get it." So she like does the bit and then people laugh. She's like, "Okay, that you guys get it now." And then she actually does that bit in her special because she liked it so much. And that was just like of all the comedy shows that I've seen live, I think that was one of my favorite moments, just like watching her kind of work out that bit in front of me.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's always neat to watch something like that happen. That's why I listen to podcasts all the time. So every now and then, if you listen to a podcast, like you see comedians like stumble through jokes that end up like really well refined in
Yeah.
their thing. There was another comedian that was like making a joke. He's like, "Has anybody ever called like the suicide hotline when you still had to pay for minutes?" He's like, "Sorry, man, I don't have enough time." They're like, "No, you have all the time in the world." No, I mean, like, we got to get through this quick. Like, it is a dime a minute after 10 minutes. You don't understand. It's like at some point, like I'm gonna be in so much debt that I'm gonna have to kill myself. Like, but yeah. Um, sometimes it annoys me when people say that you can't make jokes about suicide. It's like you don't understand comics. Like, just in like my I would say that at least 30 to 40% of like comedians I know have you know some sort of like depression or mental illness and stuff like that that
Yeah.
they're dealing with, and like telling them that they can't make jokes about it, I think is kind of wrong.
Right. I think you can make a joke about anything that's ever happened to you ever, or anything that you've ever thought about.
Sure. Yeah. Like obviously there's like times and places. Like I was like, you can't make a suicide joke at that guy's funeral.
I
Like
think you can, but
I guess you can,
but
but
you gotta read the room.
yeah,
Who's the audience? In
yeah,
a room
like
full of comedians, yeah, you could do that joke.
but like with this like with their grieving wife right there, you're like,
Yeah, you
maybe
don't want to.
I'm gonna skip it today. I'm gonna skip some
Right.
of the ha-has today. All right, it's my turn.
Yes.
Okay. Jim Jeffries Bear. So
Okay.
Jim Jeffries, controversial comedian, but Bear, he addresses gun control, um, drugs, addiction, suicide, um, a whole gambit of things. Makes him hysterical. Actually has one of the best gun control uh segments I've ever seen.
Hmm.
Talks about climate change. It's like he took like all the world's problems and made it funny for like an hour and a half, or actually like 90 minutes. That's an hour and a half. That's dumb.
Yeah.
That's a dumb thing I just said.
Okay. I don't think I've ever watched that, but I'm also not a big fan of Jim Jeffries.
I didn't think you were.
No. No, it's like him and what's that other English guy from the original Office?
Ricky Gervais.
Yeah. I don't know. There's something about both of them where I'm just like, I don't want to listen to these guys. They seem like assholes and not like in a fun way.
Ricky Gervais, I think, is probably really like he's really smart and he gets people like right at the core. But also like sometimes I'm like, dude, just like chill out and like have a good time. Like
Yeah, I think it's like the condescending tone that I just don't appreciate.
I'll give you that.
Where it's like, oh, I'm smarter than you. It's like, okay, but you don't have to like
Yeah, you don't have to like.
I don't think you need to make people feel bad about themselves. I think that's kind of unnecessary,
Well,
personally. My own personal opinion.
I don't know. Watching him at the Golden Globes is a lot of fun, but I can also, but I can see where people come on like hey, he's a bit of an asshole, but
Yeah.
like him calling, I don't know, like he actually made fun of like he's like standing ovation doesn't mean much. Like Roman Polanski got one, so like
Yeah.
he every now and then he's very real. All right, it's your turn.
Right. Right. And I'm okay with like, I think it's okay to make fun of people that are very rich and powerful. But I think, I don't know. Maybe I don't think that you can make fun of stupid people.
I think you can make fun of stupid
Like
people.
people that like, it's people whenever they're in a position where they've never actually met. Because like guys like that, they make fun of like poor Republicans a lot. But unless you've actually met somebody like that, you couldn't possibly understand what might motivate them to um, essentially follow a party that is going against their own interest. But when you meet those people, they're not like, for the most part, they're not horrible people.
Oh yeah.
They just
No.
don't know a lot, and they don't know a lot because they don't have time.
Oh
Because they're
yeah.
too busy working and trying to enjoy their lives to
Well,
think
yeah, no.
about
Yeah, and then
other
those
people.
people, when they do get explanations, they get explained wrong. Like one of the nicest guys that lives near my grandma, like was telling me a story about like these cops that assault. He's like, these cops are gonna lose their job because they arrested a dude that was famous, like because he was a basketball player. And I was like, and it was like big in the news at the time. A kid named Sterling Brown, who played for the Boston Celtics at the time, was arrested by these cops. And I was like, oh no. You should watch that video. Like he just never had time to watch a video. He'd only
Yeah,
heard third hand about what happened. And when you hear, oh, these cops are gonna lose their jobs because they arrested a famous person, you're like, that's horrible. That shouldn't happen.
right.
But then
Yeah,
like
I mean, that's a lot of those people, they don't have time or really maybe the energy to think about that kind of stuff.
yeah. So
So they just listen to whatever people tell them. And unfortunately, yeah, they get the wrong information a lot.
yeah. For me, like I always have to get to the bottom of stuff.
Yeah.
Like
But you also have time to do it. Like
lately I have time to do it. Before I didn't, but
No.
I still tried really hard. But yeah, like it's also a waste of time sometimes too. Like you can like argue with somebody about the latest political thing all you want, and it doesn't change anything usually. So
Right.
but I get it. I think I just went. It's your turn.
Okay. I have to unlock my phone every time. Lizzie Cooperman, Organism.
I haven't seen that one.
She is what I would call like an absurdist comedian.
Okay.
So it's very like like one of the jokes that she tells in the special, it's like she's banging on a piano, like a little keyboard, just like making random noises. And then she says, "You guys, I just bought a down comforter and I feel like a million ducks." Like it's a
Oh,
really stupid joke, but the way that she delivers it in the context of the whole special, it's just like it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. And it's one of the few specials that I'll listen to and I will still laugh out loud to myself in the car. Just because it's so ridiculous. Like doing that kind of
uh,
comedy to me is like to me that's more brave than doing the kind of comedy that I do, even though maybe the comedy that I do is a little more like personal, maybe a little sometimes a little more emotionally vulnerable, but like committing to that kind of act where it's like because it could go really, really wrong the way she does it. It could go really, really wrong. But I don't know. I just really admire that she just like really is fully committing to the ridiculousness that she does.
oh yeah. That's like Zach Galifianakis too.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Uh, I wish I could remember any of his jokes right now. That they all like just left my head. Yeah. Everything
Just gonna
okay?
yeah, I'm just gonna get some orange juice real quick. I'm right next to the fridge. I'm very thirsty.
Okay.
We're not sponsored, but they should sponsor us.
Simply Orange and Gatorade Zero. Just send us money.
Not the zero though.
I don't like Gatorade Zero, but it's because like I'm on insulin now for a little while.
Oh,
I don't like
I
the
just don't
zero as
like the
much.
taste of artificial sugar. It freaks me out.
It's probably not good for you either.
No.
It's probably gonna cause like weird tumors. Okay, so this one, so the next few of mine are relatively controversial. Raw, Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
Um, I used to do impressions of that all the time. Like, I can still do some of those bits like verbatim. Um, Eddie Murphy by himself is the reason I wanted to become a comedian. Raw and Delirious are two of the best albums of all time.
Hmm.
Um,
I
like
would agree with that.
yeah, like our social awareness now, like some of those jokes don't hold up quite like they used to,
Yeah.
obviously. But you do like if you remember, it's a different time, different place, obviously, but it's freaking hysterical, and it is a great snapshot of what it's like to be young and rich in Hollywood in the 1980s and 90s.
Hmm.
Like some of the stuff he talks about, like dealing with racism as like a rich black guy. He was like, he's like, I was like the only black dude inside the club that wasn't working there. Like it's just great.
Yeah.
Um, I any comedy nerd should see at least watch Raw or Delirious. Any comedy
Yeah.
nerd should.
I would agree with that.
Okay, your turn. This is fun. I like this.
I mean, it only took us what, 2 months to finally get to our top 10 episode.
Yeah, I know.
Um, okay. Kathleen Madigan again.
I like. Oh, I love that album. That's the one she talks about going to Iraq, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
the
like that one.
USO tour. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kathleen Madigan is like one of my favorite comedians. I like it because she doesn't like she has social commentary, right? Like she has some political statements to make, but she's not making it from this place where it's like because there are a lot of comedians now that will do things just for the sake of either being controversial or for the sake of like getting getting a response, like getting clapter from the audience, where it's like
Yeah.
they'll do the thing where it's like, well, I support gay people, and then everybody claps and woos and
Yeah.
stuff.
Like,
And
let's
it's like
go the
that's not,
troops.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like that's not a joke. But the way that she does it is like it's very plain. Like she's like, I'm not asking for recognition for this. I'm just telling you to set up what the actual joke is. Because I think a lot of people will do setups that are purposefully like ass kissing.
Yeah.
And then you feel like you have to laugh. And if you don't laugh, then you're against this thing that they support.
Yeah.
And I feel like Kathleen too, like I feel like it's so approachable. Like you can listen to her comedy with anybody and
Oh yeah.
it's
I
for everybody. Like it's truly for everybody.
Yeah, because like I would say that she's very liberal, but like she talks about like her parents hating the Clintons and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
And she know like because she also grows up, like she also knows people, like I was talking about earlier,
Yeah.
like those kinds of Republicans where it's like you don't really get why they are that way, but then you understand that like they don't have time.
Yeah. It's like I don't have time for this bullshit.
Yeah. She's very like she's not condescending, just like very like kind of friendly. Like you feel like if you like she would be dope to like sit down and have drinks with.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure. Like
Like
her
that would
and
be a good fucking hang.
well, like her and Lewis Black, yeah. Like because
Yeah.
she goes on USO tours with Lewis Black all the time, or at least that one, anyway. And then
Yeah.
I think Carrie Underwood also.
Mhm. No, it was Kelly. Oh, was it?
Carrie Underwood, Kelly Clarkson. I don't remember.
It's not Kelly Clarkson. Was it Carrie Underwood
I think it was Kelly.
in Kid Rock?
Yeah, I think it was. I don't remember Kid Rock, but like Carrie Underwood. I think it was Carrie Underwood, if I remember correctly.
Kathleen, why is it so sandy?
Yeah. It was like it's getting cold in here. Well, why don't you ask one of them to come wrap you up in there?
I'm sure they wouldn't mind if you went over and slept with them. Let me shimmy out of my reading glasses.
Yeah. So
And then like just to I think like her career speaks for itself that she's been like she has such longevity and anybody who's like a real comedy fan, like a lot of normal people, not like normal people, but people that are not comedy fans might not have heard of her.
no, yeah.
But if you're like a real comedy fan and you don't know who she is, then I wouldn't say that you're a comedy fan.
Yeah, no.
Like
Catherine
to me, she's like a comics comic. Like that's the career path that I want, where it's like I can still go to the grocery store by myself, but I'm respected in the field, you know?
yeah, respected in the field, but like you don't have like paparazzi all the time. Yeah.
Right. That's like to me, that's the perfect level.
So yeah, I won't like I wish that I was in a band, but I was the drummer and no one recognized me.
Yeah.
Like that'd be cool.
Perfect. I could do my art and still live a pretty normal life.
Yeah. Okay. Kathleen Madigan. Kill the Messenger, Chris Rock. That that I wouldn't say is his funniest album. I would say like maybe Tambourine or crap, the other one just slipped my mind, are a little bit funnier.
Bigger, blacker?
Yeah, bigger, blacker. But his HBO special, which is actually still, if you have HBO Go, you can watch that right now. Kill the Messenger. Watching that today, like it fits perfectly, and it's like it was made like over 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago. He made that for HBO, and yeah, but he has a very famous line. He's like, "There's no Republican or Democrat. Saying you're Republican or Democrat is like saying you agree with something before you hear the problem, or say like you know the solution before you hear the problem." Um, and I agree with that like 100%. I do think that he was like making fun of us being so tribalized nowadays, to where um every now and then, like whether or not you're on the left or the right, the other side has a good idea or is right about something and we
Yeah.
ignore it.
Right. Just because it's not your team.
Yeah. And
Right.
and like I don't want to get political or like talk about anything specific, but you can definitely say that for both sides here and there. And like, I'm not talking about like Nazi shit, but like, you can say that here and there. And it's frustrating when you're like, we're supposed to be the good guys and we're doing this and we're letting
Right,
this
but that's the
happen.
whole problem is that like there are no good guys and bad guys. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
it
true.
depends on what you value.
Yeah, I guess
And when you try to paint one group of people with a broad brush, you're always going to get it wrong.
yeah, like all these guys are evil racists, all these guys are transgender hippie communists. Like that's
Yeah,
what
you're always going to be wrong about that.
yeah, you're never gonna be right. And um it's I don't know, it's frustrating to me, but like it's something that if you watch that today, if Chris Rock made that exact special today, aside from like a few of like the OJ Simpson jokes, it would sound like he made it today.
Yeah.
So there's like a couple of like dated jokes in there, but I listened to it not very long ago and it holds up. But yeah, we learned
Yeah.
nothing.
I've never actually listened to a lot of I did watch Tambourine. There's something about his voice that really bothers me. Like it's
Yeah,
fine when he is the cartoon character Donkey in Shrek. Or no, that's not him.
that's
Who
Eddie Murphy.
no,
He,
when he does
he was the
it's the
hamster.
he's the zebra. No, he's the zebra in Madagascar, right?
Yeah, and he was the hamster in Doctor Dolittle with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. Okay. When he's doing a voice of a character, that's fine, but just like listening to him actually talk like that for an hour really bothers me.
I love Chris Rock. He also has a very good podcast with Questlove on Pandora that I recommend too. You can listen to that on Pandora. But anyway,
I don't know, Pandora had podcasts.
they do,
Interesting.
and I'm trying to get us on that.
On Pandora?
Yeah, Pandora, and there's a few other ones that I want to get us on.
Do you have to pay to get on that?
No, you get
Do you
paid
have
to
to
be
have
on
like
it.
a certain amount of distribution?
I don't know actually. I know that they have to approve you, and then like with them, I think you actually have to sign a contract. Where like Anchor
Oh,
and Spotify and all those other ones, you don't actually have to sign anything. So yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. Well, that's what I
Interesting.
understand right now. But yeah, I'm trying to get us on as many platforms as possible because,
We got to spread
uh,
the message.
yeah, whatever the message is. But yeah, your turn.
Okay. Um, Niles Abston, girls don't twerk to jokes.
I've never even heard of this one.
It's on YouTube because it's not on a streaming platform. I mean, you can call YouTube streaming, but he literally made the special himself. And I think it's free. I think you can stream it for free. I can't remember, but it's new. Like he just did it like a couple years ago, maybe.
Dude, I literally just typed in Niles Aston and it asked me if I wanted
Abston.
Aston. Oh, okay. Because it asked me if I wanted Aston Martin. I was
Oh,
like, wow, this guy's so not famous that I can't even type his name in.
Abston. Abston, maybe? I don't know. I didn't even know about him. I think I followed somebody on Twitter that happened to know about him and they posted about his special. He's very funny. And you can see too, like that's what's interesting to me about watching newer comedians and like when you watch somebody like kind of grow is like you can see who their influences are.
Hmm.
So when you watch him, you can see how like comedians that he has listened to have really shaped him and like
Oh yeah,
his delivery and stuff. Because there are certain points in the thing where I hear him and I can kind of a little bit hear Cat Williams. Like it's not to the point where
yeah,
it's like it's not specific, it's not biting or anything. It's just you can kind of hear a similar style, which I think you can hear in anybody that's our age.
oh yeah,
Like you're gonna hear a little bit of somebody else, but not in a way that's like it's not stealing by any means. It's just like you can hear the influence that they've had.
yeah. You're gonna be like, that guy watches Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to put Mitch Hedberg on here, but Mitch Hedberg's not so much like Mitch Hedberg. I like as a comedian, but like,
It's hard to watch one of his specials,
yeah,
like to
like
listen to it.
like he's really great when he shows up like on like little bits when like you listen to like Pandora or whatever, when you just listen to little comedy bits and you just have a bunch of his one-liners.
Yeah.
That's where he's really, really great. And I think he's inspired me a lot as a comedian too. I just,
Yeah, I do like the like kind of clean style of writing where it's like uh I would just call it like cutting the fat out of the joke, where you
yeah,
just use the exact number of words that you need. Like Steven Feldman?
yes.
That's how he writes, where it's very just like,
I know Steven Feldman well. I beat him in a roast twice.
oh,
And I slept on his shitty floor and he forgot that I did that. I was like,
forgot that you were there.
yeah, fucking forgot that I was there.
Yeah.
Well, like he invited us over. He's like, hey man, he's like, hey guys, you guys don't have to drive home tonight. Like you just sleep at my place. I was like, all right, cool. So I was like, great, because I just want to get to sleep. And then he just
Uh-huh.
has a bunch of people over and everybody's drinking. I was like, I thought I was gonna get to sleep. I would just drove home. And then I
Oh.
literally grabbed like a tiny little pillow and like hid behind his couch to fall asleep because that's how tired I was. And he completely forgot. I've
You
told
should
him
have
this
just
story
gone to
like
sleep in his room.
I should have, by the way. No, actually, I think his girlfriend was there. That would have been weird.
Oh, yeah.
No, but like I reminded him of this multiple times, and
No memory.
he's like, I remember you guys coming over. He's like, I don't remember you being there. I was like, first off, I was there. I pitched for the pizza, and second, I slept behind your couch, like
On the floor.
on the floor, and it was super uncomfortable. Yeah, but yeah, no, like, and of course I know Steven Feldman, freaking,
Oh,
but
Steven.
no, like I like him. Like he very his jokes are very well designed. They trim the fat, and that's something
Yeah,
that I
very
like
well
to do
written.
too. But like my jokes, I can write those fine, but I want to evolve past that.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. There's nothing wrong with just doing that forever because that's also
Right.
great comedy.
Well, but I mean, yeah, but if you look at like Carlin, every one of his specials is a little bit different.
Yeah,
Like he changes his style a lot. That is one of my kind of goals is to change my style every now and then, but I think I just get like I get very it's a little bit lazy, but it's also just like very comfortable in a like in a way that I do it. And trying something new and different is like scary to me. Because I've thought about doing like musical comedy because I can play guitar and I think I could write like a funny song, but that to me is scarier.
oh yeah.
Like it seems harder, you know?
It seems easier and harder. Like if you have a funny song that plays everywhere,
Yeah.
like any bar you go to, like if you're a musical comedian, you just go like, oh, you got a keyboard? I'm just gonna start. And like who am I thinking of? Bo Burnham.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bo Burnham can like just play anywhere.
Hmm.
So anyway, next one. Did you go last or did I go last?
You did?
I did.
Maybe? No, it was me, I think, because I did Niles Abston.
Okay. So Dimitri Martin live at the time.
That's a good name for a comedy special too.
Yeah.
And he's also that kind of writer sometimes too, where it's like the premise that he's coming up with is like really ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, no, his is weird. It's funny. It's all over the place. It's but yeah, no, like like there's some comedians that like kind of like bank on their natural talent where you know that he works on every one of his jokes, like all the wording, everything, the timing and everything. where like there's some comedians that like bank on their natural talent. They're like, I can tell a story good. I'm just gonna go over there and like just wing it from there. I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I thought this button didn't work, but I guess it does. The one on this little.
Okay.
I was like, this don't work because I didn't see it mute on the thing. Anyways, yeah, people that do a lot of crowd work sometimes too. It's like it's not like a cop out or anything to do it because it is a specific skill, but it's different from
Yeah.
actually doing the written material. Like it you can like it's good whenever you're naturally funny and you can do crowd work like that, but
Yeah.
like being able to deliver the same material over and over again, that's kind of a different skill set as well.
It's a different skill set, and it's kind of nice seeing like the nice polished stuff, but it's also great seeing somebody come up with something on the fly. I
Yeah.
wish I was better at crowd work. Like I always get nervous or like I don't know. I always seem to find people that like want to make their own jokes.
Oh, yeah, I hate that. Where it's like you start doing just like a bit with them and then they think that they can talk the rest of the show and it's like, no, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
I'm done with you now. Please
Or like you're
stop
like, oh,
talking.
so what do you do for a living? And they're like, I'm a butt inspector. And you're like, shut up, dude.
Okay. Real clever. Very helpful.
It's like, all right, you're a butt inspector. All right, you know what? I'm not. It's like,
What do you mean, a proctologist?
yeah.
Stick fingers
Mm.
in people's asses for a living? Okay, I can respect that.
It's like I would
We all
expect it.
hate colon cancer. Good for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, no, that killed the Black Panther. Nobody likes that. Anyway, we lost the Black Panther and the Black Mamba the same year. The next year we lost the White Betty. Just
Straight facts.
okay, it's your turn.
My turn. Let's see. I think we're almost through the list though. I feel like
Yeah,
okay, I did
I got two more.
I did Taylor, Kat, Lizzie, Margaret, Kathleen, Christella. Did I already say that one? Ali Wong, Baby Cobra.
Ali Wong, Baby Cobra.
Her
All right,
first special.
that one was really funny.
Yes. And the way like the way that she did it, just like the order of the jokes and the callbacks and the kind of like it's the way that she put it together that I think is really masterful. Like she's obviously very hilarious.
Yeah.
But the way that she orders the jokes, I thought was like that had an impact on me specifically because it changes the way that I do my jokes, where I don't just like pick a random 5 jokes and throw them together. I'll pick my jokes and I do them in a specific order for that reason because I saw that she did that and I was like, wow, that's really like that's a whole different level.
Oh yeah. I do that too, but that's just because for memory's sake, I forget my jokes if I don't have them in order.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I need my last joke to remind me of my next joke. And if that doesn't happen, like I'm lost. That's another reason like I suck at crowd work is like I was like, I have no idea where I fucking left off.
Right. That's why I always write a set list and I have a bad habit of kind of keeping my set list with me because I will forget which one I was gonna do next.
Oh yeah. There was a lady that got mad at me for having paper on stage and it was an open mic. She's like, you should know better than have a paper. I was like, it's an open mic, dummy.
I just never care. Like I really don't think that many people notice, and I don't really think it affects your
I think people are
I
more
think
like
it only it's bad if you are reading it from the paper.
yeah, unless it's like part of the show, then yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're just like glancing down and then giving the, doing the joke, I don't think that's a problem at all.
Well, I've seen almost every comedian do that. Actually, Sarah Silverman, her most recent special, like her actual special, not even an open mic, her actual special, she had her notes on stage.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't do that, but like for an actual like
I mean, if
gig.
I was Sarah Silverman, I would.
Oh yeah. If I was
If you're at that, I feel like I don't know, to me that doesn't matter like if you have your material on stage with you or not, like as long as the stuff is funny, I don't think it matters if you have to have a piece of paper that to remind you, especially when you have such a broad Like
Oh
if you
yeah.
have that much work, like that much history of work, you want to make sure that you're not just like doing the same thing that you did 4 specials ago, you know?
Yeah. Well, like this is what I was told was, and this is kind of true in life, is when you're at this level, people tell you how to bat, and when you're at this level, you can tell other people how to bat,
Yeah.
right? Like when you're at this level, you set the standard, but when you're here, you kind of have to go with the flow a little bit. Like you want to do your own thing and stuff like that, but yeah, like
Yeah, I
you
guess. I just don't think of comedy like that because I think comedy is so subjective. And I think that the way, like, however you're doing it that makes you feel good and is getting the result that you want, then you're doing it the right way. Because it's
yeah,
writing, it's like making a movie or watching a TV. You're not doing something wrong, you're just doing something differently. And if it feels right to you, then it's the right thing.
I guess that's one way to look at it. Um,
I've never like I think the only time I've ever like kind of told someone how to write is um one of the kids here asked me to like look at his notes and help him with something. And all I said was like, you can cut this in half. It doesn't need to be this long.
yeah,
But I think, however, like, because you have to tell the truth,
yeah,
right? Because people are going to see through it. And if you are writing something because you want it to sound a specific way, like if you try to tell somebody, hey, you should tell that joke like this, and it doesn't come from inside of you, I think that reads as a lie.
yeah. Well, especially with comedy, I'm very skeptical about like giving people advice because it bothers me when I get advice, and I probably should let myself accept advice more often. And like, I don't know, it's like my own like cockiness or maybe just being full of myself. But actually, a comedian in Lubbock just like said something is like, that joke's really good, but you should end it at the funny part. Was like really simple and something I already knew, but like hearing it was like helpful.
Yeah, but that's not somebody telling you like how to do it. It's just like I don't mind if somebody's like, "Hey, you can add this tag on the end and it's funny." I'll do that. Like that to me, like that's acceptable advice. But to say like, "Oh, you should do it like this or you should do it like that."
Yeah, that
I
gets
don't
a
ever
little.
listen to that stuff because and I tell other people too whenever they ask me like, "Well, what do you think? Is there anything I should change?" I was like, "No, if it feels right to you, then that's exactly how you should be doing it."
The only time that I've ever given like unsolicited advice was to this kid that was doing a lot of racial humor, and I knew that it was like getting on people's nerves. He was
Hmm.
like a black kid that was doing a lot of black jokes, but
Hmm.
like but like they weren't clever or anything like that. He was just basically doing a Kevin Hart impression, but just
Oh,
without like the funniness. And so I told him like, you can do whatever jokes you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just saying, just like make sure you know what you're saying
yeah.
when you're up there, because it kind of sounds like you're saying some pretty messed up stuff. And he's like, well, that's not what I'm trying to say. And I was like, yeah, but that's what it. So that was the only time I
That's how
ever gave.
people are interpreting it.
Yeah. And so like, that was the only time I ever gave unsolicited advice because I don't like unsolicited advice. Typically,
No.
if I ask for people's like opinion, I just want yes or no. Is it funny or not? Like that's
Yeah.
all I want. Like yes or no, positive or negative. Did you get it? And that's it.
Does this make sense?
Yeah, that's all I want. Usually. All right, is it my turn or your turn?
It's your turn?
Okay. So, um,
No. Yes.
okay. So this is another controversial one. This one's also extremely interesting. It's still on Netflix. 2017, Louis C.K. So, Louis C.K. was one of my favorite comedians.
Is this
Um,
so 2017 is this post or pre
this is pre the allegations.
okay.
But it's actually interesting watching it because 2017 is when the allegations came out, but it
Hmm.
was right after his special came out. So in his special, his first off, his special is really good. Louis C.K., like whether or not you like him or hate him, is one of the best comedians. Um, around. And
Yeah, he's just a bad person.
well, there's there's a lot to be said about that. I don't like what he did. Like it's really
Well, and then too,
gross
like
what he
even
did.
in some of the other comedy that he does, and even the way like I don't think he's trying, like I don't think a lot of people set out to be role models, but I think especially he was kind of like the anti-role model because he always just talks about like how he's kind of shitty and kind of racist.
What yeah, like remember when I was talking about like social detectives? He I think gets himself like he tries to get to the core of like why he does things. Louis C.K. actually like changed the way that people think, I think. He's one of the very few people that did that. He came up with the term like he called it white people problems that became first world problems, but he was
Hmm.
making fun of like us complaining about stupid stuff. And it kind of changed
Yeah.
the way that everybody thought about stuff to the point where I think people just became less whiny overnight because of stuff that he said. Like when people were like complaining, he literally had a joke about people complaining about not having Wi-Fi on an airplane. The lady announced, "Hey, this particular airplane has Wi-Fi, so you guys can have internet on the airplane." And then through the halfway through the flight, the internet went down.
Hmm.
And then the guy next to him was like, "This is bullshit." And he's like, "How does the world owe you something that you didn't even know existed 15 minutes ago?"
Yeah.
So when you listen to Louis C.K., you're going to get a really honest opinion of what life is like and why we think the way that we think. That's another thing with Mark Maron and Louis C.K. is they get really to the core of why we think things. And Louis C.K. in this particular one, he covers abortion, he covers gay rights, he covers he covers a myriad of other things. He covers social media, all those things. And he talks about his kids and everything, talks about relationships. And it's also interesting just because like right after that, his career is almost over. It's like a
Yeah.
highlight of his career. And then so it's a great comedy album
Yeah. What he
just
should have
for
did was like kill himself immediately after. I'm just kidding.
nah, not like
I'm just kidding. I don't advocate for
instant
suicide.
no. Um, but yeah, no, like if if he did do that, like we probably be like, oh shoot, what could have been? Like, but anyway.
Yeah.
Um no, so like yeah. Um I did listen to his new album and it's as good as anything else that he's ever made.
Hmm.
He does address his allegations and stuff like that. And he talks about them and he kind of gives and he puts them in an interesting light. Um but yeah, Louis CK is one of them that I do think that we should allow to come back because one, he apologized. He did his best to make amends and he admitted to it. He never said that anybody was lying. And it's not, he didn't hurt kids and he didn't, yeah. So I don't know. I,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't really think that he should be allowed back because I don't think he's really like, I don't think that he thinks what he did was wrong.
well, it's hard to know
Because
what,
the way that he like supposedly apologized for it was, I'm sorry that this had the effect on people that it did, instead of just saying, I'm sorry for what I did.
I thought
Because
his,
that's like saying, like, that's like if I did something really horrible to you and I'm like, I said, I am sorry you are upset. That's not an apology.
I don't think that's what he said. What, when I read
He
his,
didn't say what I did was wrong and I'm sorry that I did it. He just said, I'm sorry that it affected people the way that it did.
I don't think we read the same apology. Um, no, his apology, he admitted that he was wrong. He said that he wishes that he could go back and that he used the fact that those women looked up to him as an
Yeah.
advantage.
Maybe I'm
Like
thinking
he,
about somebody else's apology.
yeah, no, like if anybody's interested, I recommend reading his apology. He doesn't actually say the words "I'm sorry," but it does seem like
Well,
an apology. Um, and then he did apparently apologize to each one of them personally. which is kind of the more important part. Um, but that's
Yeah.
a whole another thing. My next one is even more controversial than that one. So let's do your next one.
Okay. My next one. Is my last one?
Yeah, I
No,
think
second to
we're
last one.
all right. You're on the second last one. I'm on my last one. Yeah, I went first. That makes sense.
Dave Chappelle for what it's worth.
Dave Chappelle for what it's worth.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
One of his first ones.
Yeah. Is that the one that was
Is
on
he
Comedy
an
Central?
unsufferable turf? Yes. Is he also one of the greatest comedians of all time? Yeah.
Yes.
But the thing, like, I think that's why that's so disappointing is because you do, like, not that you necessarily look up to him, but you think, like, oh, this guy's really smart. He's really intelligent. He can really, like, emotionally, he's very intelligent about why people feel the way that they do. But this thing that he's talking about, he just doesn't know anything about. And he's not really trying to examine it outside of his own position.
So
I also think he's weirdly obsessed with it. Like,
he did mention it in quite a few of his specials. Um, so before we get to mine, that's a special where he I think that's the Central special, right? Or am I wrong?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a Comedy Central or HBO.
But that's the one where he has like a bit where he's talking about he's like ladies. He's like, when men you wear that and men think you're a whore, that's wrong. Because like they'll be like, just because I'm the way I'm dressed doesn't mean that's what I am. And he's like, that's 100% true. But you got to admit that it's confusing. Because he's like, what if I was dressed like a cop? And you're like, oh my God, this guy's trying to steal my money. And I'll be like, just because I'm dressed this way doesn't mean. I think, is that the same special? I think that is. I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe.
Dave Chappelle legitimately is one of the greatest comedians in the world. And while I literally don't agree with what everything that he says, he's had 5 new specials on Netflix, um, which is like
I don't know. I mean, and it's not just the stuff that he said in the last special, it's the fact that he spent so much time defending what he said before instead of just doing jokes.
yeah.
Like, if you count, like, the kind of punchlines, there aren't that many. Like,
Oh yeah,
it just
no.
wasn't very funny as a piece of work.
The closer, other than
Yeah.
the joke he stole from me, wasn't as
Yeah.
funny as it could have been.
Right.
Um,
It didn't really live up to what he's been known to do.
yeah. But the special before that, Sticks and Stones, is actually on my list. And Sticks and Stones, I didn't think that there were a lot of jokes that were read differently than they were said.
Mhm.
And Sticks and Stones is way easier to defend than than the closer. The closer was there's a lot to it, and I think that could be like a whole conversation on its own. But Sticks and Stones, he covers race relations in the United States right now. He covers Black Lives Matter movement. He covers a lot of really important social issues extremely well. And then he does talk about transgender people in that. And it's a smaller part of that particular special. And I think that that's more defensible because he's clearly saying he's like, this is where I come from on it. And he talks about his own personal experiences with it. And it's different. And I felt like a lot of the criticisms he got for that special weren't fair. Especially like there was an article written by the Young Turks. I'm shaking the camera. There's an article written by the Young Turks where they take bits out, like out of context, and they quote him in it. And I was like, that's not exactly how he said that. And it's frustrating as a comedian that anybody can do that to you. And then like they were paraphrasing a
Yeah,
lot
but
of.
that's the whole thing. Like, you don't have control
I
over the
know.
way that your material affects somebody. Like, it's like any other piece of art. Once you put it out there, it's not yours anymore.
To some extent, yes.
And people get to do with it what they want to do with it. Like if I bought a Monet and I wanted to take a dookie on it, I could, because now it's mine.
I mean, yeah. But so Taylor Swift, I'll give you an example. Taylor Swift has a song called You Need to Calm Down.
Hmm.
One girl on Twitter interpreted that as her telling Black people to calm down because of the riots, which has nothing to do with that. She's actually criticizing people for going against the LGBT community. Is in the song, that's what she's doing. And one person misinterpreted that, and the way that they organize the lyrics, you can kind of see their point, but it's only if they organize the lyrics in that specific way and they put that sort of twist on them.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, like you can't tell people how to interpret that. Like if I make a drawing and you're like, and it's like a self-portrait of me, like you can interpret it however you want in a million different ways, and I can't control that. But at the same time, you can still say like, that's not what I meant, or that's not how I meant for it to be. And and every comedian I think has had that to some extent happen to them. So
yeah, but it's also how you deal with it too.
Yeah, and you can argue
and the thing that a lot of people do is instead of being like, oh, I didn't realize that what I was doing was hurtful, what they do is instead they double down. And that's when that's kind of when I lose respect for somebody, is whenever they can't just be like, when you can't just say my bad, like just say like all you have to do is be like, I'm sorry I said that. I will try to understand and grow and learn more about this topic.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I do think Sticks and Stones is worth a watch. It does mention,
I think it's like, because the whole premise of that special is like, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me, which is stupid because words hurt people all the time.
yeah. But
And it does, like, it is real. Like if you were emotionally abused as a child, you can't just like tell that adult child now to get over it, because even though there's not physical scars, like there is such a thing as emotional trauma. It really exists, and it's words. It's not always actions. It's not always physical assault. Like it's words, and it's real. I don't know. I just think it's really stupid for somebody whose entire career, whose entire life is based off of using the power of their words to have an effect on people, to then turn around and say words should not have an effect on you.
Well, I don't think that he's trying to say that they shouldn't have an effect or zero effect. I think that what the premise is that you shouldn't allow other people's opinions to affect you that much. Like it's the way that he says it is better, but the whole premise of that particular special is actually the importance of words. And then he explains that words do hurt. He actually does talk about it. Like he talks about the Black Lives Matters movement, and he actually criticizes the Black Lives Matter movement in certain places, and talks about how the language was wrong when in certain places, and it sent the wrong message, and it hurt stuff. That's something that he actually addresses in that. Do I think it's his funniest album ever? No, but yeah, it's it's in my top 10 because I think that it's probably one of them. I would say that it's probably the most influential album in the last 10 years of any comedy album. And I think that it'd be hard to argue that. Whether you love it or hate it, it's definitely was an influential comedy album.
Oh no, you're buffering.
Am I? Hold on.
You're buffering.
Hold on, hold on. Hold on. My hotspot's still on. Oh, wait. Un momento.
Half a second when you were saying hold on, and then it went.
Okay. My hotspot was being dumb. Sorry about that, guys. Am I back on? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Everything good? Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. All right, guys. Sorry about that. That
I
was
think
my
we're on the
last one.
one.
Yeah, so it's your last one.
So this last one, I couldn't decide if I wanted to pick one of George Lopez ones, and then I couldn't decide which one. America's Mexican? Is that what it's called? So I could like that's the one I was leaning to, and I couldn't really decide. So then I just ended up going with Nikki Glazer's Perfect.
Nikki Glazer's perfect. I like Nikki Glazer.
Because she's also like, I really like her writing because it's very like, it's just straight joke writing. Like I don't usually like storytelling. Like there are specific comedians, well, like if they do storytelling, I like it because I like the way that they do it, but it's not really my preferred kind of comedy. I just like kind of very straightforward joke writing. And two, like I have a lot of respect for Nikki's kind of writing style too, because she also like she does a lot of the celebrity roasts, and I think she's probably one of the best roasters because she's such a good joke writer.
Oh yeah, no, she's a really good joke writer. Yeah, no, I like Nikki Glazer a lot. She's one of them that
And I know
like
people complain a lot too that she does a lot of very sexual material, but I don't know why that matters.
she can be
'Cause
pretty dirty.
but like every male comedian humps the stool, so why is that like why is it different that she's doing it? Like that
Every
she's
male
doing something that has
comedian. Such a
every
broad
single one.
brush.
I mean,
I've
is it true?
never
Is it
have
you've
I
never done it?
I've never humped a stool
Okay. Well, every one of them but you.
on stage for audience.
Just at home in private
At
for your
home,
OnlyFans.
in private, with a consenting stool of age. Yes. No, like yeah, guys talk about sex too. Nikki Glazer is one of them. Like there's some male comedians too, but Nikki Glazer is one of them where I'm like I'm not watching that one with my mom.
No. Oh
Like
no.
uh I love Nikki Glazer a lot. I listen to her podcast a lot. I love it when she's a guest on shows like The Fix or she's actually hysterical in The Fix. I highly recommend her watching her segment alone on The Fix. Um, Kelly Ryan also is really good. Um, she's less dirty, but also pretty, but she's pretty raunchy. Don't watch that with her mom. She's Canadian. Um, she's Canadian and a former Hooter girl.
Oh.
Yeah, she mentions it. Uh, but yeah, like she like there's been a few times where I've listened to podcasts like she was on your mom's house, Nikki Glazer, and she was like giving a lot of TMIs.
Hmm.
And I don't know, like she's an open book as like a
Yeah.
person. It's my brother. That's why. Hey Randall, do you wanna come look at the audience?
Make a cameo.
Lower, lower. Stop. All right, now leave.
That's enough.
But yeah, I like Nikki Glazer a lot. I recommend her. Not with your parents. Not safe for work.
Definitely not.
Yeah,
Definitely not.
you will go straight to HR.
Yeah. If you don't just immediately get fired.
Yeah, they were like, "That's why did you think that you could do that?"
Yeah, it's highly inappropriate.
It's like a circle jerk with like a bunch of midgets. Now that's not okay at work at all. It's like we don't even say that word.
Not the time and place.
Yeah. What I do like about Nikki Glazer is like she really does seem to be a fearless comedian.
Oh yeah.
And I think that we get less and less of that nowadays.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
even
there's a lot of pandering, which I never really appreciate that.
yeah, I don't
Whatever,
think
like it doesn't matter what audience you're trying, even if you're trying to pander to me specifically, I don't like that.
well yeah, like her or Michelle Wolf. Um Michelle Wolf actually has a joke where it seems like she's pandering
Hmm.
to like the Me Too movement, and then like she completely flips her around. What is it? Something Fire. It's on HBO. Um, but yeah, like I like it when like they flip around like pandering stuff, and
Yeah.
Nikki Glazer does that a lot too.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think that's all I have on that. Do you have anything else?
I think it's in that special where she's like, she's talking about like having sex with her boyfriend, and how she thinks like porn has ruined men for sex, because at the end, in the end of the joke, she's like, and then he tries to close me like a laptop. Like, I'm a woman with thoughts and dreams and a career.
No, like she was she was on The Fix. And The Fix is hosted by Jimmy Carr, and there's only one season on Netflix, and it wasn't picked up for anymore, and it sucks. But Nikki Glazer's segment on that was great, and they were talking about social media and how like porn has ruined everything. It's like now
Yeah.
she's like, now like I need insane stuff to get me going. Like when I was younger, just the idea of a dude would get me going. Now like I need something insane, like woman running through warehouse scared. Like she's like, that will be the stuff. And yeah, like she says that like out of nowhere, and everybody, like all the other trained comedians are like, what?
Yeah.
Like when you stun like other comedians, I think that's like where we like she was clearly the funniest person on a panel of four other really great comedians like DL Hughley, Michelle Ryan, or not Michelle
Mhm.
Ryan. Yeah, I think Michelle Ryan. I can't remember her name now. And Jimmy Carr, and I think one other guy. Like it was great comedians, and then like she stole the show. So I recommend that. It's too bad that like Netflix can't get game shows to work. All right. So that is our top 10 comedy albums. If anybody else has any that they want to add or has any comments on ours, feel free to do it in the comments, or you can message us on any of those platforms. You can message me on Twitter, Drew Holiday. What's your Twitter handle?
Selena whatever's with a Z.
Selena Whatevers with a Z. I'll put all those tags in there. All right. And I'm going to be going to a baseball game pretty soon here. So go Rockies.
Fun.
And Selena is going to be murdered by her house guest.
Maybe. I mean, it would fulfill my dream of ending up on a true crime TV show.
That would be great for the podcast if you got famous.
Yeah.
I mean, like
my my misfortune will bring you great fortune.
yeah, it's like was like I just like keep on telling them to drop the podcast. Like also podcaster Selena, common last name, was murdered. Podcaster, comedically correct. You can look her up anytime. Like just make sure they keep doing that.
Just keep plugging the podcast
during the investigation, like the whole thing. Yeah. So anything else? Do you got anything?
I'll write that into my will.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Anything else you need? Like just it's like have your like family, your grieving family, like, yeah, podcaster Selena. Just keep doing that.
I'll put it in my eulogy.
No, I'll write.
I'll put it on my tombstone.
All right. Yeah.
I'll say beloved daughter, sister, friend, podcaster.
Podcaster, comedically correct. Check us out. Sorry for wasting. So anyway, if you have anything else to promote?
Nope. I don't think so. Not at the moment.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be on a transplant podcast.
Oh.
Yeah, and
there really is a podcast for everything, isn't there?
Yeah, no. So it's hosted by Jenny McCarthy, not the famous Jenny McCarthy, a different Jenny McCarthy.
Not the anti-vaxxer Jenny McCarthy.
Not the anti-vax, not the cousin of Melissa McCarthy, Jenny McCarthy. Not the, but yeah, no. Her name's Jenny McCarthy. She's not an anti-vaxxer, by the way. I'm going to be on her podcast. That's going to be kind of fun. I actually was supposed to be on her podcast last week, and I had the flu, so that's going to be fun. It was weird that she put trans in the email. Like she's like, podcast for trans.
It means something else.
Yeah, she's like it's a podcast for all trans topics, and I was like, what are you talking about?
You're like, I don't know if I'm the right person for this.
I was like,
that's not really my area of expertise.
Did you talk to that other guy? Like, because you guys are
my nurse.
Yeah, because you guys are on the wrong one. But yeah, Anyway,
Making some assumptions.
yeah. How about it? But anyway, that's all I have. So is that it?
Yeah.
All right. So before hopefully she doesn't get murdered, I'm Andrew Holiday,
I'm Selena Martinez.
and this has been Comedically Correct. We are sorry for wasting your time. Thank you guys and have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Later, Selena.